Hello. The concept of waste to wealth literally means moving waste from a platform of exhausted utility to perhaps another level of desirable products. And how to achieve that is our concern tonight on Weekend File. So good evening and welcome to the program. It's my pleasure to welcome you once again to the show. Nigeria generates about 65 million tons of waste annually, but to leverage on that richness in refuse generation to attain requisite height in wealth creation seems a hard nut to crack, given the technological complexities of waste processing. When we talk about waste to wealth, what comes to mind is the various manufacturing processes of products using the biofiber waste that will open up a large vista of opportunity for job creation. Experts believe that the volume of waste generated in Nigeria will grow in the coming years, and for a population that has sustained steady growth in a world obsessed with environmental friendliness, waste management must play a role in the nation's future. However, due to absence of capacity to harness this great economic potential, the waste are allowed to constitute environmental and health hazards through the emission of gases like methane and carbon monoxide that heat up the atmosphere. The big question now is, how could the government and the organized private sector explore the economic opportunities in the world of waste? Join us as we bring you the new views and analysis on the important topic for tonight's edition of Weekend File. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Kirin Umayo. The news is next. In another effort to restore peace in southern Kaduna, acting President Yemi Osinbajo has met with traditional and religious leaders of the area in Government House, Kaduna. He said, as the custodians of their people, they owe a duty to ensure that peace and unity reign, as no meaningful development can be achieved in an atmosphere of rancor. Muhammad Umaru Ajinge reports.
Acting President Professor Yemi Osinbajo interacted with the representatives of Christian Association of Nigeria, its sister organization, Jamaatul Nasrul Islam, traditional rulers, security agencies, as well as the leadership of the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association. The deliberations brought to fore issues hindering the progress of peace building in southern Kaduna and ways to tackle the challenges in no distant time.
Recent steps that have been taken an answer to the cry of some of us, and that is the full establishment of the presence of security.
To create such a forum where they will obtain direct information from the people that are affected.
We grew up in southern Kaduna, a very peaceful area. Myself that I'm talking to you here, I was sponsored throughout my education by a Japaman.
After listening to submissions by the representatives of the various groups, the acting president called on aggrieved parties to give peace a chance. The government will do everything within its power to curtail further breakdown of law and order in the area.
I want to express my very sincere condolences to all of those who have lost family, lost friends, and who have been traumatized by the terrible things that have happened in southern Kaduna in the past few months. But I must say that there is no question whatsoever that violence and enmity and hatred will never solve any of the problems that we're experiencing today. There's no way that they will be resolved in that way.
Governor Nasiru Ahmad El-Rufai of Kaduna State said government will not spare anyone involved in quelling the crisis, no matter how highly placed the individual is in the society.
Peace is a choice. The government cannot force anyone to live in peace. What the government can do is to use its coercive power to bring anyone that engages in violence to account. We can only have peace when people choose to live in peace.
Southern Kaduna has experienced several crises in recent times, which resulted in loss of lives and property worth millions of naira.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, says the non-restitution of illicit funds stashed in foreign banks is affecting the socio-economic fights and development of the country. The minister said this at the high-level segment of the 34th Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland. Gabriel Udu reports.
The minister noted that the non-repatriation of stolen funds back to Nigeria is also hindering the anti-corruption drive of the government. The minister used the platform of the 34th Human Rights Council to thank donor agencies and humanitarian organizations for their assistance to internally displaced persons and refugees.
And in essence, at the end of the day, an amount just below 700 million was raised, of which about 4.5 million was available for 2017 for this year. And we're also hopeful that some of the other major donors whose budget cycle was not now would also come on stream.
Nigeria is seeking re-election into the 47th member council for the 2018-2020 term. This, the minister said, will place Nigeria in a vintage position to defend Nigeria's interest where there is negative interference on human rights issues in the country. Gabriel Udu, NTA News.
A Kano-bound goods train was involved in an accident in the early hours of Saturday in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. No life was lost, but many property were destroyed as a result of the accident. Tunji Adepoju reports that rescue operations were provided by paramilitary agencies. Reactions have continued to trail the death of the notorious kidnapper Henry Chibueze, alias Vampire. Reina Ohiri reports on the mood of Owerri and the people.
The death of the notorious armed robber and kidnapper Henry Chibueze, alias Vampire, has no doubt brought relief to some residents of Owerri, the Imo State capital. Some of them said the news of the death of Vampire brought joy as they can now move freely and go about their businesses, especially in the night. Those into nightclub and roadside restaurants and hotels said their expectations are high as they will expect more patronage now, noting that the fear of Vampire is the beginning of wisdom as he has terrorized the neighborhood for too long.
He has been killed actually. Well, that will bring peace and a conducive atmosphere to transact business.
It was a terror, in the town, and it sent shockwaves down the spine of most residents within this town. People became afraid to go out in the night, where it has a lot of, nightlife, and everybody became so scared.
To an extent, the death of Vampire has actually boosted the business, especially the nightlife.
Great success on the part of the security of Imo State. They have really achieved. We congratulate them.
The police force spokesman, Jimo Moshood, who confirmed the killing of Vampire, said that 5 members of his gang were arrested alive.
Around 1 a.m., the special forces tracked him down in a village in the forest at a location in the Kwere local government of Rivers State.
With this development, Owerri residents and environs are expected to heave a sigh of relief and go about their socio-economic activities without fear. From Owerri, Rina Ohiri, NTA News.
Adani in Enugu State is set to return to all-year-round farming and boost its rice production. Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, inspected the ongoing rehabilitation of the irrigation infrastructure in the area, giving hope of its timely completion. Musbaudan Wahab has that report.
Adani Irrigation Project is one of those well-intended initiatives put in place to boost agricultural production in the country. Under it is other rice irrigation projects, and it's perfectly fitting to the federal government 2-point agenda in the rice value chain, which are import substitution and employment creation. This lofty project, initiated in the 1960s, suffered a series of setbacks before total dilapidation. Arable land like this, as vast as 1,000 hectares, is available for this project, literally begging for cultivation. But then, the farmers are on holidays because it is dry season and they have no access to irrigation facilities. As we made our way through the farmland, I met Emmanuel Udemezwe and his group of energetic youths who used to grow rice, maize and other crops. Unfortunately, Emmanuel and his folks now hunt to make a living.
As you see youth now, without this thing, you cannot get money. Nothing like any occupation for youth.
Which work did they do before?
Now we are farming.
And when the Water Resources Minister, Suleiman Adamu, led his team to give new hope of resuscitation to the infrastructure, the farmers were skeptical.
There's nothing has been done there. All the canal is damaged.
The project has been abandoned for so many years.
Yes, sir.
But we want to complete it by God's grace.
Channeling of a canal through the farmlands for surface irrigation has started.
Hopefully, now that we can see that water is back in the canals, of course, next dry season, we expect that I'm sure the farmers will be here all over. The opportunity is there for them to start cultivating.
With these efforts, Emmanuel and others like him now have hope, and the minister assures they can begin all year-round farming as from next season. From Adani in Enugu State, Musbao and Wahab, NT News.
The federal government, in partnership with the World Bank, has commenced the construction of feeder routes and the expansion of irrigation facilities in selected states in the country to further boost dry season farming in the country. This is coming as the government pledged to continue to pay its counterpart fund for the project. Musa Babaliu has the report.
The initiative of the federal government is for farmers in the country to be able to produce crops all year round. And the partnership with the World Bank is to provide solutions to all the challenges affecting farming activities. Provision of improved seeds, heavy-duty farming equipment, as well as upgrading of irrigation facilities are part of the initiative.
We have machine tricycles here, we have power tillers that will ease our farmers in boosting their farm production.
Officials of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture were in Kano to inspect 4.7 feeder route tomato farms as well as irrigation facilities in Kano State under the World Bank project.
The average farmer, as they told us, do 10 hectares. That's a lot. While around the country, you'll see most people do 1.5 to 2 hectares.
And I think we're impressed with what is happening in Kano, and they're in the 3 value chain of rice, tomato and sorghum. But we have told them that they need to do more.
The program is jointly funded by the federal government and the World Bank. All participating states are expected to pay a counterpart fund. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
One sure way to checkmate the challenges of collapsed buildings is to prosecute building law violators. Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoita, said this at the Nigeria Institute of Civil Engineers seminar in Abuja, as Olayin Kojo reports.
The spate of building collapse in Nigeria in the past 20 years have assumed a very worrisome dimension, as many lives are lost and huge investments wasted. Identifying some of the challenges confronting the sector in Nigeria, Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoeta, noted that there's a knowledge gap in the industry and civil engineers and builders must adhere to standards so as to reduce cases of collapsed buildings.
The present government is looking more into local content, and that is why we need to have improvements in what is being delivered to the Nigerian people.
Delivering a paper entitled A Wake Up to Nigerian Engineers, APC National Auditor Dr. George Mugalu pointed out that every major engineering innovation has come at the hand of people who see the world differently from others.
Technology allows us to communicate with one another, document our lives, to innovate, and to more efficiently manage our time and resources are all testament to the ingenuity of men and women like yourselves.
Stakeholders also reiterated the need to strengthen mortgage system in the country, as this will make construction more affordable. Olayin Kojo, NTA News.
Islamic scholars in Niger State have prayed to Allah, seeking divine intervention for the quick recovery and successful return of President Muhammadu Buhari. The special prayer session organized by the Niger State government was held at the Mina Central Mosque. Mukhtar was there.
Islamic scholars from across the state converged at the Mina Central Mosque, where they read from the Holy Quran, praying Allah to heal and bring back home President Muhammadu Buhari. The scholars also prayed for rapid growth of the economy, peace and unity in the country.
No way we can live without calling on God to come to our aid.
Niger State Governor Abubakar Sani Bello, represented by his Special Assistant on Religious Affairs, Tanko Baba Ahmad, advocated the need for continued prayers for leaders and the country, which he described as the best approach towards addressing issues.
That there is the need to go back to the basics and go back to the basics, the bottom of it all, and that is to prayers.
To ask God to accept all the prayers.
Similarly, Christian prayer is expected to hold on Sunday at the UK Bello Arts Theatre, Mina, by 12 noon. In Mina, Mukhtar Abubakar, NTA News.
As part of activities marking the 80th birthday of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, a symposium has taken place in Abuja. It featured various speakers, including former United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Andrew Young. Anthony Gordon reports.
The two-in-one program featured an international symposium put together by the Center for Human Security, Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, and presentation of 40 African drums by the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization, CBAAC, attracted dignitaries from both national and international communities. Speaking on the theme, Purpose of Utilitarian Values of Presidential Libraries, panel of 7 discussants included Ambassador Andrew Young.
Understanding the power and the duty of this wonderful nation, Africa might still be in a more desperate position.
Eleanor Roosevelt started in the United States when he founded the first presidential library there in 1941.
Very proud African, who takes the African message, African views forcefully to the world. And that is why, they respect him, and by respecting him, they'll be respecting his views, and they'll be respecting the continent itself.
The step he took had become quite historical and has become very interesting phenomenon all over the world. I'm sure he didn't craft those things. I'm sure those things come as he was struggling to survive.
The celebrant, while responding, presented Presidential Library as an act of God for him to correct some of his mistakes of the past.
Was controlling 30 states of Nigeria, 30 out of 36. And I left, then fortune of PDP started to sink. And believe it or not.
The event also featured presentation of 40 African drums by Center for Black African Arts and Civilization in commemoration of 40 years of Festac 77, which was established by the celebrant. Various cultural performances were displayed to the admiration of the guests. In Abeokuta, Anthony Gandono, NTA News.
Senate President Bukola Saraki has congratulated former President Olusegun Obasanjo as he clocks 80, describing him as a beacon of national unity, peace and progress. The Senate President, on behalf of the 8th Senate, joined family, friends and numerous well-wishers of Chief Obasanjo in celebrating his entry into the elite club of octogenarians. A statement by Special Advisor, Media and Publicity to the Senate President, Yusuf Olayinonu, said, apart from having served the country diligently, passionately and conscientiously for many decades, Chief Obasanjo has remained one of the dominant figures in national discourse. On several fronts, he has served the nation diligently, conscientiously and passionately. The statement adds, it is for these reasons and many more that the Senate President prayed to Almighty God to continue to give former President Obasanjo good health, great wisdom, and the unflinching grace to serve Nigeria, Africa, and humanity in general for many more years. His Royal Majesty Ochiviri Professor James Ayase Tortif V has been giving his staff of office with a commitment to uphold the culture and tradition of Tiv people, as well as foster unity and peace among them and other communities. Achigile Magaji reports that the acting president, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, represented by the Minister of Agriculture, Chief Audu Owe, who congratulated the Tortif, urged him to rally his people to key into government's policy of revitalizing agriculture as the mainstay of the economy. The Senate President, Abubakar Bukola Saraki, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, and the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar III, paid glowing tribute to the new Tortif and stressed the need for peaceful coexistence and support to government. Now you can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. Well, we thank you for staying with us on Weekend File up to this moment. Efficient waste management has a role to play in the process of diversification of the nation's source of revenue. With abundant waste materials generated from across the nation, some private organizations have ventured into the process of waste to wealth. But their effort merely scratches the surface of the required machinery and the expected huge revenue from converting waste to usable products. For a closer look at perspectives to this ignored and overlooked commodity, I'll see you after the break.
This is a happy moment for me and for all Nigerians.
Amina Ali Nkeke, the first Chibok schoolgirl to be rescued in the renewed onslaught against the Boko Haram insurgency.
Amina's rescue gives us new hope.
Federal government has formally received the 21 abducted Chibok girls.
These dear daughters of ours have seen the worst that the world has to offer. It is now time for them to experience the best that the world can do for them. Government will sustain the effort until all the remaining girls return safely.
Come down. Hey, see, come this gizzard. Put me that liver.
Yes, I'll go put Oga. This is so you have plenty.
Why you shake now? What do they worry? Cut them down.
Make I put this one, go. Your money is to pay for this one, so
I don't pay already now. Yeah? See, if you pay yesterday, you know they pay today. Now free tomorrow now.
Make I tell you, wallahi this one not be good to your support. Pay tomorrow, it never reach here. Wallahi you kwa. Somebody that you are go pay me my money now.
Now lie they everywhere.
What if? You are go pay me for my money.
Wait.
Like pay me my money now.
Yeah, calm down.
As you talk about me, like tell me now who I go pay for this year? Who go pay for all this meat? You talk about my
Whatever airtime or data you use, in one day you can get double the amount back tomorrow to browse, text, and talk to all networks. Free. Dial *600# today.
The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
Hello? Welcome to the M6 Challenge. Using your new Gioni M6, carry out everything on that list, starting now. Get to the door. Congratulations, you have passed the test.
Gioni M6 with a 5,000 milliampere battery that lets you go on for 2 days on a single charge. Gioni M6, always in power.
Sometimes
from a wide variety of OK Pops for amazing experiences. OK Pop, the fun never stops.
Do you crave class? Do you have taste? And do you care about comfort? If you do, then for your next event, a stay away from home, a business trip, or a holiday, visit Jade's Hotel at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja. Check out our world-class services, exquisite suites, restaurant and bar, gymnasium, spa and grills, and our outdoor catering services and cuisines. At Jade's, it can only be better. For bookings and reservations, visit us today at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja, or visit www.jadeshotels.com. Our email address is info@jadeshotels.com. You can also call us on 09291-9321 or 0810-909-7956. Jade's Hotels. Welcome to life.
The Future Assured project and its components, Get Involved, initiated by the wife of the President, Her Excellency Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, is not relenting in championing the cause of Nigerian women and children. Its provision of free medical screening, educational support, and the fight against malnutrition, especially in the Northeast, has indeed informed international recognition, partnerships, and awards.
We are very grateful and appreciative for your wonderful gesture you have accorded to us.
With Future Assured, Nigerian women and children are assured of a bright future.
Future is assured when we join hands to promote the health of our women and children. Get involved.
Get involved and support the Future Assured initiative. Future Assured, promoting and protecting the lives of Nigerian women and children.
The attention of the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, has once again been drawn to the nefarious activities of some criminal elements in the society who have devised yet another devilish method of defrauding unsuspecting members of the public by impersonating the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Engineer Babachir David Lawal. They seek monetary gratifications from their victims who, as usual, they are sure of employment in the public service or outright political appointments. Department of State Services, DSS, and other security agencies have been informed and are working assiduously to curb the occurrence of this ugly phenomenon. Some culprits have indeed been apprehended. For the avoidance of doubt, some of the numbers they used are as follows. Members of the public are therefore hereby advised to be aware of fraudulent callers impersonating the SGF and indeed other top government functionaries. The general public are once again reminded that the federal government of Nigeria has established verifiable channels of communicating with individuals, groups, and organizations. If in doubt, contact the press unit, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Shehu Shagari Complex, Abuja, for clarifications on all matters of public concern. Bolaji Adebiyi, announcer.
Well, I will take you to a report that's a part of tonight's news. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has been described as a global and African icon with a firm belief in a world united in vision and purpose. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo said this while commissioning the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, OOPL, to mark the former president's 80th birthday anniversary. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Very few human beings have the chance to make history, and fewer still have the fortune of both making and writing it. The acting president said as he observed the humble beginning of former President Olusegun Obasanjo and the history he has made over the last 80 years of his existence. His life history, which the acting president noted, is tied to the history of Nigeria a few years after independence, which is well captured through his writings and preservation of artifacts.
Aside from all else, his enduring legacy will be his belief in one strong, detribalized Nigeria, and also his belief in words and in practice, in an Africa united in vision and purpose.
Describing the former president as a bridge builder, cutting across all peoples in Nigeria and the rest of the world, acting President Osinbajo is of the view that learning from the events of the past would be a better step into a great future.
I'm sure that as visitors to this library, especially young people, walk through this magnificently creative place, they will learn from both what they see and hear, but perhaps more what is unsaid, that our place in history, the history of our society, is not what we manage to take from it, but what we manage to give it. The more selfless the giving, the more historic.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, whose 80th birthday is being celebrated, speaks of inspiration behind the library.
When I came to realize how much vital materials that should have been preserved from the Civil War and from our period of military government were allowed to waste carelessly, then I tried to see what could be salvaged, recovered, and preserved, but not much, except some materials on the civil service or on the Civil War from both sides of the divide, which I was able to microfilm. Materials were lost, but lessons were learned.
Liberian President and Chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, Ellen Sirleaf Johnson, spoke on behalf of other presidents and heads of governments, as well as leaders of international organizations present at the occasion.
History will bear truth to this precedent-setting presidential initiative.
Apart from the library complex, the acting president and other guests also went on tour of a museum where the relics of war preserved by former President Olusegun Obasanjo were kept. In Abuja, Ogun State, Jide Onifade, NT News.
Thank you, Jide. And now back to Weekend File. Many countries are now taking advantage of their population with regards to waste being generated, as this, when recycled, contributes to the wealth of the nations. Nigeria, with over 65 million tons of waste generated annually, is yet to fully utilize these resources. So what are the factors hindering smooth sailing of the waste-to-wealth business in Nigeria? Let's join Mayor Ogidi in this lead report as he digs deep to find out possible solutions.
Waste is any substance which is discarded after primary use or deemed worthless. Before now, waste was classified in two categories, that is, solid and liquid. But today, due to technology, electronic waste, which is more alarming and harmful, has been introduced to the list. However, with this emerging trend, the business of waste to wealth, which is the transformation of garbage from an exhausted utility to a valuable commodity, is now a thriving enterprise at the ever-competitive global market. Records from the World Bank in 2016 show that over 1.3 billion tons of waste was recycled and generated $205 billion globally. For instance, Germany, South Korea, the United States of America, Slovenia, Switzerland, Sweden, and the Netherlands top the list in this new market, while many African countries, including Nigeria, are now dumping sites of electronic waste or non-biodegradables, and this is of great environmental concern.
The same circuit board contains lead, chromium, then what we call obliterated flame retardants. These chemicals can persist for several years. They cause cancer, they cause child defects, they cause all sorts of problems. These are all documented.
With increasing urbanization rate of 6.5% annually, Nigeria is now generating about 65 million tons of solid waste without commensurate waste utilization policy. A trip to some dump sites in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, shows a beehive of activity and people earning a living, though on a small scale.
So on the average, I can say monthly we can make up to 300,000 or more. Part of it are used locally here in Nigeria. You know, they use them to produce fibers. You know, this like alchems, they produce foams from this.
With so much fortune made monthly by one individual, What is the level of coordination by government or non-government organizations?
If I'm a producer of a beverage drink, I have a responsibility beyond producing that drink, responsibility to make sure that the waste bottle is carefully disposed of. And in doing this, also create wealth.
In order to ensure proper coordination and necessary legal backing, the Senate Committee on Environment is to begin debate on waste-to-wealth policy in Nigeria through private member bills.
It is high time we started looking into those areas and sensitizing our people, and especially the youth, on what to do. And we also mentioned areas of waste-to-wealth and what to do and how to create jobs.
Key players in the environment sector, however, advise that for the waste-to-wealth business to succeed in Nigeria, states must partner with the private sector to come up with waste recycling plans in the country. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
Lagos State, with a large population of about 17.5 million people, generate about 14,000 metric tons of waste daily. The massive refuse, in spite of efforts to effectively manage, it still constitutes a menace. In many parts of the state, resources and recovery and recycling initiatives and businesses are helping to transform these waste materials into wealth.
Waste, they say, is not waste until it is wasted. Those with hindsight know this. Some in Lagos State are already exploring opportunities in it and are creating wealth.
Lagos has acquired a lot of milestone when it comes to waste management, and that means what the private sector is looking for, really, in waste conversion or waste to wealth is, one, availability of the waste. Is it available in what quantity? Two, who is going to move it from the point where it's not needed to where they're going to convert it? Are we going to get land? Are we going to get tax holiday?
35-year-old Bilikis Abiola is the initiator of this waste collection and sorting center. Now, this is one of the several waste collection and sorting for recycling facilities in Lagos. And like any other investment, this waste-to-wealth business has challenges.
It's very challenging to educate people about waste management because, when people that, don't have, awareness, you have to kind of encourage them, teach them on a one-on-one basis.
There are buyback programs that are helping to keep non-biodegradable waste like pure water sachets and plastic bottles off the roads and drainage channels. The initiatives provide rewards and ensure money ends up in the pockets of people who pick and gather waste, including those who supply and recycle them.
The waste upon collection is weighed and they get points, which they can redeem for household items. So they can redeem for electronics, and even money.
So if they come with tires, our tire products are 10,000. Now when you come with your tire, you take it for 5,000. That's 50% off. So a lot of people are coming, dropping. That's how you see tires there. They come with their tires and drop it and take what they want.
Experts say progress made so far in the mega city is an indication that the sector has huge opportunities that have not been fully explored.
The Lagos State Waste Management Authority, they're giving us the sites for free. They're giving us so much collaboration.
The interesting thing about the Waste to Wealth initiative in Lagos State is the fact that most of them are being run by young people. Bilikis, for instance, has a staff of over 120. In Lagos, Jennifer Igwe reporting for NTA News.
And time for more messages. And when we return, it will be our discussion segment with Dr. Ibrahim Dan Azumi, the Director General of the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP. Do stay with us.
Oh, it's happy hour. So, you want a free Coca-Cola, but you have to drink it here.
The net
Management Office, DMO, on behalf of the Federal Government of Nigeria, is offering the general public an opportunity to invest and contribute to national development through the Federal Government of Nigeria's Savings Bond. Investment in the FGN Savings Bond will lead to poverty reduction and create employment opportunities. FGN Savings Bond have attractive features: guaranteed fixed income, quarterly interest payment, use of investment as collateral for loans, can be sold at the secondary market, good for savings towards school fees, marriage and house projects. Please visit www.dmo.gov.ng, your stockbroker or financial advisor. FGN Savings Bond for national development. This message is from the Debt Management Office.
This is not just a pitch. This is not just another kid. This is where I found my inspiration. This is where I learned I can stand on my own. But that together, we can fly. This is the school of life. This is where champions are made.
Nestle, good food, good life.
It's finally here, the most anticipated sports show on live television, featuring great sports icons from ex-internationals to famed journalists and administrators. It doesn't come bigger than the Sports Parliament, which premieres live on the NTA network this Thursday from 11 p.m. till 12 midnight. Be a part of the biggest sports talk show on television to help chart a successful path for Nigerian sports. 11 p.m. to midnight on Thursday on the NTA. Sports Parliament, where the eggheads converge.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. My guest tonight is the Director General of the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP, Dr. Ibrahim Dan Azumi. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
Dr. Ibrahim Dan Azumi is also a soil scientist. Now, let's begin this way. Is it indeed true that Nigeria can generate billions of naira annually from waste?
Yeah, I believe in that. You see, if you look at our population, if we estimate that we have 180 million Nigerians, and an average adult will generate about 0.5 kg, half a kg of waste under domestic waste. And if you translate that into tonnage, it will amount to about 90,000 tons of domestic waste per day. And that translates a lot of over 30-something million tons in a day generated across the nation. There are quite a number of classes of wastes. We have domestic wastes that form the majority, and over 70% of the waste generated are domestic. We also have commercial wastes that are coming from commercial activities. We have also agricultural waste. We also have industrial waste. And to a lesser extent, we have hazardous waste that are generated from hospitals and other radioactive materials. So if you are able to convert this into something meaningful product that can generate revenue to the nation. If you look at the steel industry, particularly, say, Dana Steel Rolling Mills, the former Katsina Steel Rolling Mills, now rely solely on metal scraps. And it is generating a large amount of money from melting iron scraps and make roads and other materials. So it was earlier intended to get inputs from Ajakuta Steel Rolling Mills, and they don't seem to get enough from there. So it's a survival strategy. Now they are forced to look for metal scraps and go into production of iron rods by melting metal scraps.
Now, you mentioned classes of waste, or classes of sources of waste, for instance. Now, in all these classes you mentioned, can we say that all the waste generated from them can also be converted to products.
Of course.
Apart from the hazardous waste.
Yes, if I would take, like, say, the domestic waste, and I say 70% or 80% of that domestic waste are organic, and you can use those organic materials and convert them into fertilizer. You can do what we call development of biogas. If you decompose those materials under anaerobic environment that is devoid of oxygen, you will generate biogas, and this methane gas can be used for cooking. One of the institutions in University of Usman Danfodio University, Energy Research Center, has perfected that technology. What is just left is for people to begin to adopt it. The residue, after extracting the gas, the residue can also be used as a fertilizer. Now, if you go into a traditional composting, this is another technology that is as old as I am. But unfortunately, we've not been using it in a wider perspective. That composting itself is like you gathered plant materials, waste materials, agri products, and decompose them. And that one is under aerobic environment. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks. Then after, you now get an organic fertilizer. You can now, because that organic fertilizer you produce through composting are mainly good for flowers, are mainly good for vegetables. But if you want to have to go to commercial farming, you have to supplement it with organominerals. Like the major source of plant nutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And that organic fertilizer you produce through composting does not seem to have enough potassium and phosphorus. So you have to use organomineral fertilizer. The Raw Material Research and Development Council has perfected, along with the University of Ibadan, that technology. And there now quite a number of plants are coming up at a very small scale level, producing organomineral fertilizer across the country.
All right. There's no doubt that waste to wealth process is highly technology driven. Yeah. And considering our level of technological development in this country, in your opinion, can we really move massively in this direction to see how we can turn this massive and abundant, the waste into something reasonable?
Yes, Kirian, I have strong belief in Nigeria. God has blessed Nigeria with human capacity. We have very brilliant people. We have come up with some technologies that could do that. But there are technologies that are a little bit complex. Particularly now, I didn't mention to you, gas flaring was another waste. Now is being converted to power our generating plant. You need a complex technology, which we don't have. So what we expect to do is to bring in technology from outside the country and begin to domesticate it. We have very intelligent people who gradually would absorb this technology, adjust it, and make it Nigerian technology. Through this flaring, now flaring 7-8 years ago was in a much higher level than we are experiencing nowadays. So if you also look at the recycling of metal scraps, is also another sophisticated technology, which we don't seem to have it in this country. But we allow that technology to come in. 7-8 years, when you go to our mechanics, you see the whole garage is littered with one spare part or the other. But now reality on ground has now made us to look for those scraps, melt them, and convert them into something useful. It's a matter of time, Kirian. Both the highly sophisticated technologies and the subsistent technologies we have in this country are working for this country. What we only need is to believe in ourselves and believe in the future of this country. Together we'll all move it forward.
All right, now what roles are expected of government and the organized private sector moving forward on this huge dream of waste to wealth?
Yes, like I said, the government has a responsibility to provide the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. The government has a responsibility to adequately train Nigerians so that they will be able to develop technologies so that we reduce level of foreign technology consumptions. The government has a responsibility to provide the necessary infrastructure at our laboratory and workshops levels so that our researchers who are very good, who are very intelligent, but because there are no enough infrastructures for them to work on, they are limited. So if we be able to provide this, the enabling environment, the private sector could bring in technology into the system. But we always insist that we have to have a strategy as Nigeria. Those strategy is to develop the human capacity so that when those technologies come into our own country, we should be able to understand it, understudy it, and eventually domesticate it to become Nigerian technology.
From some of the reports we watched, we saw some people who are already privately engaged in recycling and all of that. Now, how would you assess them?
Yeah, I think I'm impressed, honestly. I'm impressed. So that is really emphasizing my thinking that we have a future in this country. Why are these things happening now? Is because the reception is giving us opportunity. When the reception was not there, we never cared about all these things. Now the reception is showing us areas where we have to divert our strength so that we gradually reduce dependence on foreign technologies.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ibrahim Danazumi, for being part of our program tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
We have, of course, gained some knowledge, from your submissions. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Kyria.
Now, Dr. Ibrahim Danazumi is the Director General of the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAB. Now, happenings in the world of sports and the weather prospects for Sunday are next after these messages.
In the approval of the whistleblowers policy by the Federal Executive Council and its launch by the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, patriotic Nigerians have been making inquiries on how and where they could deliver information that could lead to the stopping or uncovering of fraud to the appropriate authority and answers to frequently asked questions. The Federal Minister of Finance has therefore dedicated a telephone line for receiving SMS, a whistleblowers portal, and an email address through which members of the public who volunteer to disclose information about a possible misconduct or violation could deliver such information for the attention of the team dedicated to process such information.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, is working to ensure access to safe, good quality essential medicines with the World Health Organization pre-qualification of made in Nigeria pharmaceutical products, stiffer penalties for fake drug offenders with a review of NAFDAC laws, national, regional, and international collaborations, cutting-edge technologies, including the mobile authentication service.
NAFDAC impacts upon everything we do, including water we drink, the food we eat. They are important organs to the development of this country. And everybody should come out and join them and support them and help them to achieve the greatest benefits and success that they need to record.
Let us support NAFDAC to win the war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
All right, now for sports update for today, let's join Adiola Omokivi in our Lagos Network Center.